This happened to a friend of mine about 5 years ago. Let's call her Zoe. Zoe lived in a semi-rural area with her husband and 2 young children. There was Josh, who was 3, and her baby daughter Emma, who was only 7 weeks old at the time of this happening. Zoe's husband, Tim, would go away quite a lot on business trips. He was away this particular time when Zoe had arrived home from her parents' place one evening. She was just getting her daughter out of the car when she heard this voice which sounded like her husband's, but not quite. It was an imitation of it. This is strange, she thought. Also, if her husband was home, she would have seen his car in the double garage. And the voice seemed to be coming from down the road where these woods were. It was calling out to her son, "Josh, Josh, come here, boy. Come here, boy." Alarm bells started going and this cold chill went through Zoe. Josh was all excited. "Oh, Daddy's home." And he started to walk in the direction of the woods. "But he's down there." "No, Josh, no, it's not Dad. It's someone trying to trick you. Come back, come back." Josh must have heard the concern in his mother's voice because he turned around and started coming back. But just then, this figure of this man walked out from the darkness of these woods and just glared at them. Then, to Zoe's shock and disbelief, this man turned from a person and morphed into a coyote-like creature. She stood there a second in stunned silence. But the vulpine look of evil and hunger in this thing's face sent this spasm of terror through her, and she grabbed Josh. She had him under one arm and she was holding her baby daughter in the other arm, and she tried to run as fast as she could up this track to where their house was. There was a high fence all around their section. She could hear their dog, which was a Rottweiler called Bosca, barking up a storm. She just opened the gate and Bosca went bounding out. She looked back behind her and she could see that creature had already reached their car and was starting to come up the path towards her. Bosca flew at this creature and she ran inside. She could hear this awful sound of canines snarling and tearing at each other. Then she heard Bosca yelping in pain. Josh was crying, "Mommy, that thing, it's hurting Bosca, it's hurting him." She grabbed her husband's gun and ran outside. She could see Bosca laying on the ground, but the creature was gone. There was blood all over the place. She could see a trail of blood leading down towards the woods. Just then her brother turned up in his van with his girlfriend. She told them what had happened. To her relief, Bosca was still alive. They quickly picked him up and took him inside and began tending to his wounds. Her brother's girlfriend was Navajo, and she said she was certain that that thing was a Skinwalker. The next day she came back with a special Navajo charm to ward off evil and gave it to Zoe. Bosca made a good recovery and her husband came back. They had no further problems, but Zoe was never the same. She was always very fearful and hypervigilant. She hated going past those woods now. Even in the day, she hated going past them. When she and her husband would drive past, she always felt this cold chill crawl up her back, and she said she felt as if these eyes were always watching her from somewhere.